I saw how important VRChat was for people and what it could do for people through what I experienced and through what I saw other people experience. And I wanted that to get to more people. That's really all I wanted. And however I could contribute doing that, then sounds great. It just so happens that like community management was the thing that I had been doing as a hobby, I guess, for 15 years, accidentally. And yeah, it's usually how most community managers are born, by the way. It's by accident. Nobody really goes into it wanting to be one.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talkin' Podcast with me, your host, Nepherti. This is episode 71 of the podcast. It's good to have you here. I want to thank you all so much for your continued support over on YouTube, as well as my community on Twitch. You guys are instrumental in keeping this going, and obviously I do this for you guys. I love talking to people live on stream, and I hope that you guys enjoy the conversations that we have here as well. I will mention very quickly that this is going to be a little bit of a slightly different podcast in terms of timing. Usually we have, on average, about 3 hours of a podcast. This one will be a little bit shorter because Tupper is a very busy man. So I do want to let you guys know that's what it's going to be in advance. It's no there's no secret thing behind it. We're just having a shorter podcast because Tupper's very, very busy. So with all of that said, I do want to also thank those of you who have been supportive on my Patreon at patreon.com/Nepherti. I really do appreciate you guys who continue to remain loyal over there and hopefully enjoy my content that is released over there. Obviously, you know, I do this as this is a labor of love. I am a full-time streamer, and literally every little bit helps. So whether you subscribe on Patreon or subscribed on Twitch or you know, donate or whatever, doesn't matter. Every little bit helps, even if you're just here in the chat or watching this on YouTube right now. Every view, every like, every comment makes a difference. So thank you very much for being so supportive of me. I never thought we'd be at 71 of all things. But on the top of that, I never thought that I'd be sitting down with none other but then the absolute man himself. Tupper. I totally messed that up, but that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's all right. It's okay.
Only slightly terrifying. You built me up a little bit. Thank you for having me here. I also appreciate your flexibility. I will admit, finding 4 hours free is a challenge, but also 4 hours, 3.5 hours. I was looking at the other interviews. That's I mean, your guests come on and they do that once, but you've done it 71 times, 70 times, I guess. That's
yeah,
some stamina, to put it lightly. So yeah.
Yeah, I really do enjoy having like meaningful conversations with people, and I think it's important to kind of get into the nitty gritty. Obviously, we'll have to you know, kind of keep that like at a minimum and kind of focus on, I think, what a lot of people would want to know about, like, you know, the inner workings of VRChat, your position, the decisions that are made, those kinds of things. So we'll get in as much of this kind of stuff as possible, but I think we'll also kind of start off my podcast the way that we usually do. But yeah, I definitely do enjoy just having conversations for long periods of time, because I think we need that. That's the only way that you'll be able to understand a person. You have to talk to them for a long period of time. So, you know. Yeah. you don't know a person from a tweet.
Discussion short.
Yeah.
That's so true. It's a lesson I hope more people learn over time.
Yeah, same.
People are not headlines.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, you know, that's kind of the world we live in. But hopefully, you know, these sorts of efforts to really have honest, open conversations will hopefully help people to understand the people who are in this space a whole lot better. So I hope we can achieve that together. So,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. So, to kind of start things off, I do want to say that we did meet each other very briefly at TwitchCon. I did do a little bit of an icebreaker. We did meet each other in person at TwitchCon. I'm not sure, like I'm not sure you've met like a ton of people, so like I'm sure you don't remember me specifically, in terms of my appearance.
Of course I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that.
I am horrific with names. I am pretty good at faces. That like when we were going to the meetup, there's like lots of faces. Like I know that guy, I know that girl, I know this person, but I don't remember names. I'm so bad at names, which makes me feel bad all the time. But no, I absolutely do remember you.
Okay, hell yeah. I always figure that people just have so many things going on and so many people that they're meeting that it's just like, you know, it's kind of hard to remember people's faces, but I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, I'm glad that we could sort that out and put myself back on your radar and do this little chit chat, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully your coworkers also can appreciate what I try my best to contribute to the VRChat space as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's running, you know, a podcast for that long and also running a live stream, that is a lot of content creation, right? Like that is a lot of work. So, needless to say, the answer is it is appreciated.
Okay,
we appreciate all of our content creators.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. All right, so now we'll kind of jump into the actual line of questioning, but.
Sure.
Kind of start things off kind of like really simple, really easy going, because I like to kind of ease into things. Where did you come up with the name Tupper? Where's the origin? What's the origin story of your name?
So that's two different answers, right? Where did I come up with it, and what's the origin story? Where did I come up with it is very boring. It's one sentence. It's my last name. That's it.
Okay.
The origin story apparently is that it's an old English term for a shepherd of goats. So specifically someone who is a shepherd of goats. So that is apparently what my ancestors did. They were in England at some point, with a herd of goats, shoving them around, and I don't know. I don't know what you do with goats. You shoot them? I'm not sure.
I mean, you milk them. Milk them for milk.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. That's true. Goat's cheese is so good.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where the name came from. It's very boring. Like my I grew up in like I lived on like military bases because my parents were in the military in some way, shape, or form, and the kids would always pick up on the habits of like how. Their dad or their mom calls their friends, and everybody calls themselves by their last names, because that's what you have on your uniform. So yeah, that's probably where I picked it up from. I just used the last name. Plus, it's memorable. Like my other names I could come up with aren't very memorable at all. My first AOL Instant Messenger name was like Dragon Lord and a bunch of numbers after it because I was like 13 and I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Literally, you
cool.
And everyone else had a name like that. It's pretty common when you're young. Yeah, you put in the special numbers as some like edgelord type of username. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's the chuny thing, right? Like
yeah,
you got to be the edgy 13, 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes.
So true. All right, so I do want to ask about, did you have any other names besides Tupper for VRChat, or was it always just like Tupper for you, even before you were hired?
I mean, no, when I got hired, like, this is my original account. Like, I started playing in July of 2017, and I got the name Tupper, and I was like, okay, cool, well, this is what I use everywhere else, so this is what I'm using. So, yeah, nothing really else. Very boring answer.
Okay, yeah. No worries. That works. Okay, so I imagine over time that your appearance has changed and modified as avatar production and various, I would say, booth models, I suppose in your case, have improved in quality. So can you kind of walk us through that little bit of a, evolution of your appearance?
Yeah, so the very first model I ever imported into VRChat was a MMD of Flandra Scarlet from Toho. So she's like a vampire girl with like, I think, blonde hair. I don't remember how Flandra looks very well. But yeah, you can tell I'm a huge Toho fan. I don't even remember how the characters look. I'm very much a secondary fan of Toho. But I just imported that one because it was kind of the model I had on hand, and I was experimenting with importing MMD models because I knew about MMD, and I wanted to figure out, hey, like, people need avatars. So there's a huge repo here. It's how I eventually made the tutorial video that I'm sure I'll talk about later. But I went from that. It had broken fingers, and I didn't know how to fix it, so I moved to a different MMD model, and I found a Chirano model. So, you know, Ice Fairy character from Toho. And that one successfully imported, and it looked pretty good for the time. So I was able to tune that one over time. I fixed a bunch of issues with it and used it. Eventually, like, I got hired and realized that I can't use. I mean, I got permission from the artist to use that avatar in VRChat. Like, I DM'd them on Twitter and said, hey, can I use this as my avatar? That doesn't feel right to use that for commercial purposes, even if Toho licensing is really loosey-goosey. So I eventually commissioned an avatar from an artist named DigiTrevex, which I asked them to make basically mecha Chirano, because I like robots, as you can tell. But I also like Chirano. I like her color scheme. I like that she's confidently stupid. I think is my favorite aspect of that character. I relate a lot with that. Yeah, so I went through that. I used that model for a long time, but eventually I wanted something I could customize more often, something that fell more into the line of expectation that people have from VRChat avatars, which is, you know, you have some base, you customize it, you change out parts, you modify some, and do some custom stuff. And that's how I came to use Runa, which I'm not sure if I'd call a booth avatar. It is on booth, but like, the artist is from Russia, I believe. So, like, typically booth avatars are, you know, from Japanese artists. Not always, but yeah, I guess this counts. And I've been using Runa for a couple of years now. I like her a lot because, well, someone in your chat was asking for feet before we started. So yeah, it's mostly because of the legs. These legs are so good. There you go. There's the requisite feet. Yeah. I really like the digitigrade, like, robot leg thing. They just feel right. It's like one of the first things I ever wore in an avatar in VRChat where I experienced the, whoa, this makes my brain tingle in a weird different way that I like, and there's like no other explanation for it. It's just like, yes, I enjoy moving my leg and seeing that. So that's my evolution. It's always been blue and white though. It's kind of been my color scheme.
Nice. I think most people remember the Chirano kind of look like that I kind of like. I now think of that that's when around the time when I first got into VRChat, probably around 2022. I think you're still maybe using that around then. So this is relatively fresh. Yes, this look. Yeah,
I'd say I started using Runa within the last 2, maybe 2.5 years. But maybe a little bit. Yeah, that sounds about right. But I was using like alternate versions of my Mecha Chirano for quite a while. It's a great model. It's just not nearly as customizable as other models. It's kind of set in place.
All right, nice. Okay, so we'll move on to some other kind of like very kind of easy, chill questions. You've mentioned on stream, and if I remember this correctly, because I do watch the dev streams. I don't catch all of them, but I've catched a number of them. Yeah. So you've mentioned that. So I think someone in chat asked at one point, like, what do you consider the golden age of VRChat? And I believe your answer was there is no golden age of VRChat. It's just based on perception. Do you still believe that?
Yeah, this is kind of a personal... I'm really glad that you called it that, because I remember back when I played lots of different games, right? Like different MMOs and things like that. And I built in my mind, this concept of golden ages, of where I was, what I was doing, what game I was playing, what community I was a part of. And I realized And for a while, like I defined like different ones. It's like, oh, this is the one where I played Ragnarok Online. This is the one where I played World of Warcraft. This is the one where I played WildStar. This is the one where I played, Final Fantasy or whatever. And I realized eventually, about the same time that I came to VRChat, that's a horrific box to put things into, because you're categorizing social interactions and places that you are into like this. You're measuring them against each other. Comparison is always the theft of any joy, so you can't do that. So by saying there are no golden ages, what I'm saying is that you always have the chance to turn the current moment into that, right? Like, sure, I have phases of hanging out personally with certain friends or whatever more often than I don't. But if I stop hanging out with them, it's not like we stop being friends, it's not like I forget the experiences, or it's not the place is gone. That still exists. It's just I decided to change it up a little bit. So I think Golden Age is I get what you mean. I get what people mean when they talk about that. Like, they want me to say like, oh, 2018, it was Neko Nights, it was Rafflegator's early streams, it was, when XQC and Soda came on and we're going around, joking around. I see a lot of people talk about like, it's when you could just go into Publix and just meet people and they were nice and funny and like you could joke around with them and make friends. All those things you can still do right now. It's just they're slightly different, and trying to put them into a box really limits you. So yeah, that is why I think that calling any particular age a golden age is kind of self-destructive. You're comparing your own experience to your own experience, which is like, it's going to be bad. You shouldn't do that. You're here to have fun. You're here to make friends. It's all the golden age the whole time through. And if you stop enjoying something as much, then move on to something else. There's something else.
All right. That's a good. I appreciate that answer.
Of course. It's a good question.
Yeah. Thank you. I try my best. Hopefully you feel the same way about the other questions that follow. I hope so.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm positive I will. Don't worry.
All right. So I do want to ask about your initial exposure to VRChat and what that was like, especially so far back. I know we just celebrated VRChat's 10th anniversary fairly recently. So I'd like to know like what that experience was like for you, and just what it, I guess, compared to how it was back then, having so much experience on the platform. How does it compare or contrast to your experiences back then to now?
Yeah. So the 10-year anniversary of VRChat was 2024, because VRChat technically, like Graham started it up in 2014, started coding it. I didn't start playing until 2017, so that's like 3 years. Oh man, it's that short of a time between it. I vastly underestimated the amount of time between like 4 to 7, 2014 and 2017. That's a realization live. So really not that much time, I guess, in comparison to the rest of everything. So when I started, VRChat had just gotten onto Steam in February. I started playing in July. I found it by looking at the Oculus, the Vive that was sitting on my table that I hadn't used in like 6 months, and I was like, I got to do something with this $800 piece of shit, right? Like, it wasn't a piece of shit. It was a great headset, but like, it was a paperweight at the time. So I scrolled through and I sorted by free. And VRChat was one of the few I hadn't tried yet. And there was no reason I hadn't tried it yet. I just hadn't seen it. And I hopped in on a Steam account. And I was wearing the default red avatar, which it's not even in the legacy avatars. It's not like if you go back to the avatars we just put out, it's not in that list. It's actually even older than that. It's in like the legacy. And I went to the hub first. I didn't really know what to do. There were some people there, but I didn't know what to do. I ended up in presentation room, like the original presentation room. And I went in there and it was full of scribbles all over the place. There were only like 40 people online or so. So really the number of people that are trolling and drawing swastikas or whatever crap that they would do later on, that wasn't happening yet. Like, there were few enough people that trolls got ignored and blocked by basically the entire player base in about 5 minutes of them being a piece of garbage. So I joined. There was this green-haired anime girl. They were using a model from Neptunia, because those were very easy to import at the time, because Neptunia is a Unity series of games. And somehow, using just the pen and motion at me, they started berating me. Not like mean, but like very much like banter. Like, you know, how two people from the UK, I guess I imagine, like interact with each other. If they just pick up on the tone of each other. It's like banter. It's the natural like form of communication. And I spent like 45 minutes talking with them, and just kind of, you know, they were shit posting at me, and I would respond in kind, and like eventually, you know, we stopped being fake mean with each other, and actually was like, okay, hey, tell me about this place. And they told me about it, and they said, actually, you can make your own avatars. And I was like, what do you mean, like with an avatar creator? And they're like, no, like you literally install Unity, and you find a model and you import it. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, wait, so I know about all this MMD stuff. I know all these models. Hold on, because I was previously making like MMD animations in my free time. That was like my hobby at the time. And yeah, it just kind of blew up from there. Like I got really hooked in. I met more and more people. I described myself as an introvert at the time, but it was very easy just to hop in and just like start talking to people. So yeah, compared to like now, yeah, that's interesting. Are you more asking like what's the comparison of what I do now and like what I spend my time doing in VRChat, or what I see of VRChat now versus what I saw back then?
I would say more of just like your kind of objective experience of like experiencing VRChat from even from like a UI perspective compared to how it was back then, and then like your experience of getting the VRChat now, and like you said that you told me off camera that you haven't been in VRChat for a couple of weeks, and I know when I came back from TwitchCon, I very much was like, whoa, I was away from it for a week. I'm like, holy shit, it's very, very different. You got to kind of get used to, reacquainted with it again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, the UI back then was super hacky, right? Like it was just basically program art. Now it's a couple steps above program art. Like this menu looks nice. The big menu looks nice. It's not perfect yet, so we're going to keep changing it. We just changed it. We're going to change it again in the future. But like, yeah, everything felt very hacky as far as like the technical stuff back then. It worked, but just barely. Like you could see the duct tape and the strings. Nowadays, like it's a bit more smooth, right? Like, it's, again, not perfect. It's not a perfect, amazing AAA experience. It's never meant to be. It's never going to be. But yeah, as far as the people go, it can be tougher. Just the nature of scale being a thing. Like if you don't have the consequence of if you're a jerk, the entire platform blocks you anymore. Like that doesn't happen anymore. If you're a jerk, more than likely you're going to find other jerks who you can mirror your behavior off of, and you end up just being jerks together, and now you're a problem. But yeah, it's stuff like that has changed. Thankfully, you know, if you have the right type of person, the right type of technical mindset of people coming into VRChat, and they talk to the right people in the right order, then they're going to stick pretty hard right now. The challenge I think we have nowadays is with less technical people and people who are less tolerant of the jank. You know, they're used to Apple products, they're used to super polished experiences. It's like, that's not here, man. That's not real.
Okay. Has VRChat changed your life?
Oh, yeah, of course.
How so?
Before I worked for VRChat, I have a degree in physics. I was working at a subcontractor for the U.S. military, working on like jets. I was working on maintenance programs for jets. So it sounds exciting. It was a desk job, but at the time I was like thinking, oh well, you know, I'm kind of nerdy. I play World of Warcraft. I spend all my friends live in the computer box, kind of thing. I thought, okay, well, I can deal with this. But then I found VRChat, and it's still true. And then I realized I could work here, and through my application, and then just happened to roll, you know, successfully and get in. So yeah, absolutely. I don't know where I would be, like, without having played or interacted with VRChat, but the moment I clicked install, like, on the free VRChat thing, it's like the Steins Gate, like, the world line number just shoved itself up very high. Like, it's a completely different thing for me. I can't imagine. I'd be very boring. I'd probably be a little bit more, I was gonna say stable, I don't want to mean mentally stable, but, like, you know, I probably would have followed the typical, like, get a house, buy a Ford truck or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I'd probably be playing World of Warcraft or EVE Online or something way more often. This is way better, if it isn't clear. I've met a ton of very good and cool and important people. It would have been much worse, but not in a sinister, indiscernible kind of way. Not in an obvious, like, I'd be burning in a, like, lava pool kind of thing. It wouldn't be right.
And so, you know, living out your life as, like, a mechanical, like, marionette type, you know, that's way more interesting, I would say. You know, would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like this better. What's funny is, like, I mean, mechanical marionette, I don't know if you were describing, like, the alternate timeline of me having the, you know, the boring desk job forever versus this. It's literally correct in this sense, and it's figuratively correct in the other one. But I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like being a robot person. I keep saying robot girl. I'm not really designed to be, like, feminine. It's just more of androgynous. So I like being a robot thing on the internet. It's much nicer.
Hell yeah. I do enjoy being a hot-headed cat girl on the internet as well. So you know, it's just this is how it works. You know, it's nice to be something that you can't quite be in reality. But you can actually kind of experience that and just form your own experience in VRChat in that way. Yeah. So, like, how did you kind of formulate your experience? Like, what made you want to, you know, be hired by VRChat in the first place?
It's funny. It kind of happened by, like, falling more than anything else. Like, the process that it worked by, like, I talked with Ron, who at the time was the chief creative officer at VRChat, in a parking garage in VRChat for 3 hours straight one night. And it was because I was always posting Uncanny. I was posting, like, hey, you guys should do this, you should do that. I was being... I would be annoyed with me if I saw one of me running around doing that right now. Like, annoyed in, like, the kind of thank you for all your contributions, but damn dude, chill out kind of way. But I was very enthusiastic, and at the time I was holding up a sign that I had on my avatar that was like, let's go vote on the canny for the community council, which was my idea of a way for the community to contribute to the development of VRChat. Basically, it was inspired by a concept in EVE Online where they have the Council of Stellar Management, where it's a bunch of players that they literally fly out to CCP in Iceland, and they tell them, hey, here's how the game is kind of working right now, here's how people feel, and they, like, co-develop, like, they sign NDAs and everything, like, they've got to kind of be part of the team, and they're voted in by the community. And I thought it would be a great idea to have that for VRChat. Today, I still don't know if that's a good idea or not. We try and integrate parts of that, but that's, like, how I got talking to Ron, and we talked for, like, 3 hours straight, and he was kind of poking at the idea over time. So that was in, like, November of 2017, and as things were kind of starting to peak up, something weird was happening to VRChat's player count. It was like, instead of 40 or 50, it was 100 people on a night. And then we hit a weekend, and it was like 250 people. Like, holy shit, what's happening? They come back down. And we started hitting the pattern that we're very familiar with nowadays, which is kind of quiet during the week, and then during the weekends it blows up. People are hopping on their free time. And Then the streamers I mentioned before, Soda, XQC, a couple other big people popped in. They ran around. They had a couple streams where like they showed off VRChat. Population exploded. Like 1,000 at the beginning of December, 15,000 to 20,000 by the end of December and into January. And VRChat was like, holy shit, we got so many things we got to do. We need to cover these email. The support email box is completely full. No one's been able to clear it out for days. We got like bug reports and feature requests and all that kind of stuff we need to manage, and that kind of thing. So I had applied just kind of as a, I've done community management kind of stuff in the past on my own. I could do support for you guys. I did IT support for like 6 years at Best Buy. Like this is easy. And I did it at school for another 4 years. And they hired me to do that. And 6 months later, after basically just churning through tickets, after I had moved to a different part of the country so that the tax paperwork would allow me to be a full-time employee, not only did I get upgraded to a full-time employee, Graham was like, okay, you're community manager now. Which I didn't propose or ask for, it just kind of happened. And I was happy with it, so we rolled with it there. Long, strange journey. That was in June of 2018.
So, you were made community manager in June 2018?
Yep.
Okay. So...
Before that, I was like community support, I think was the title.
Gotcha. So, is that essentially the same title as head of community, just in a different wording, or is that different?
So, head of community versus community manager. Head of community means I'm managing other community managers. That's the primary difference. Community manager is an individual role. It's an individual contributor in the typical structure. In the way that we have VRChat structured, a head of a department is someone who is a manager of other people that are doing individual work. So there was no one else to manage at the time. I was the only community manager for VRChat for years. And now I am the manager of 2 other community managers. We're both senior community managers. So really we have head of community and then 2 senior community managers. They're both senior. They're both senior to somebody. They're both very good. They deserve the title, but now I'm just like, damn, come on guys. Like, but yeah, that's where we're at now.
Okay. And can you explain to us, if possible, what is sure. Your everyday workflow of being head of community? So, thankfully, those aforementioned senior community managers are way better at doing a lot of things than I am. So they actually handle a lot of the really like high effort, high contribution stuff. They are the ones who are doing the bulk of the work. Straws and Flair. We have some people also on the team that are helping out in different ways with community, such as Elim, who does all of our videos, Sai, who is on the art team but very much participates in the community team, is like, a side member, that kind of thing. That's right, Sai, you're a side character. You're a sidekick. He'll love that. So my job mostly consists of managing projects, managing the people that we have on the team, but also importantly, working at a high level with other teams. So I'm part of the senior leadership team, which means that I have a spot that's kind of like at the directional part of VRChat. I get to see what's going on. I get to have a little bit of a poke of influence there, here or there, which I think is probably the most important part of my job. I might not have to poke that much, like our leaders at VRChat understand things very well, to their credit. But I'm there simply to just say, like, hey, here's how things are rolling out. Here's how people are perceiving this. Here's what I believe we should do based on X, Y, or Z. And that's the highest point that I get to influence stuff. So I take, the feedback that I get from my community managers, the feedback I get from people in VRChat that I talk to, just person to person, I can take it that high. I think that's the most important thing I do. There's also lots of meetings. I work with every division, department, whatever you want to call it, at VRChat. So product, support, economy, growth, foundations, which is kind of like our core team,
all these different like segments of VRChat, and they change a lot. So like those team names might not mean anything in about 6 months. We'll see. It's just how company stuff tends to work. But yeah, it's a lot of meetings, and document writing as well. My Quest Pro is doing Quest Pro things, so if I cut out, blame Meta.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Let me see if I can re-angle myself the way it was. Okay,
right.
we're good.
Nice. Okay. So with regards to your position as head of community, is your role there largely, well, you said it's mainly kind of managing everything else, but is that a position that you particularly wanted? Like, was it similar to how you became community manager, or were you kind of it just made sense to kind of put you in that position as VRChat grew over time?
That's a really good question. Want is such an interesting word. I don't want things very often. I'm pretty content with whatever, I can help out with and I can do my best at. But I have found over time that I tend to be like, I can automate things, I can work on stuff, I can provide a lot of like contribution work, but the stuff I get better at is helping other people be good as well, and helping them build up. So I don't know if it's something I wanted to do, but it's something I ended up being not the best at, but I'm pretty okay. I enjoy doing what I do. A lot of planning, a lot of oh, hello, random stick drift. Lots of random contribution. Sorry, that was not the sentence I meant to say, because I tried to say two things at once. my hand tracking randomly kicked on. That's what I was trying to say. I think that my contribution in like planning and building these things out and coordinating all the different things that the community team takes part in and working with the other teams at VRChat is something that I just kind of fell into, but it is something that I enjoy doing. As far as what I wanted to do, I saw how important VRChat was for people and what it could do for people through what I experienced and through what I saw other people experience. And I wanted that to get to more people. That's really all I wanted. And however I could contribute doing that, then sounds great. It just so happens that like community management was the thing that I had been doing as a hobby, I guess, for 15 years, accidentally. And yeah, it's usually how most community managers are born, by the way. It's by accident. Nobody really goes into it wanting to be one.
So can you go into more detail about those experiences that you had and that you want others in VRChat to have?
Yeah. They're pretty straightforward. We talked a little bit about it before, right? Like there's people in the golden ages question, right? Like each one of, you can think back to different times and places and games and stuff that you've played, or real life places like high school or college or whatever. Everybody remembers these places and people that were parts of them. And VRChat is a place where you can just kind of have another one of those. Like you have, I think, third place, I think is what you would typically use as terminology here. But a lot of people don't have a third place in real life, where you have work and you have home. You need another place. Like for a lot of people, that can be like a bar or like, I don't know, the library or like, a sports team that you participate in on your off time. But VRChat is the biggest, most accessible third place on the planet. All you need is just, well, I say all you need. All you need is some of the most advanced technology that exists right now for humans, and so you got to trade over a couple $100 for that. But
the most expensive free game on the market.
Well, of course, you get in what you put, you get out what you put into it, kind of thing. Yeah, what I want other people to experience is for them to find friends like I found friends, have experiences like I did, like find people that you really get and they really get you without effort. That's hard to do in real life because you get what you're dealt as far as where you live or where you have to move or whatever. Like you move somewhere where you just don't like mesh with the people there. Well, sucks for you. Like that's it. Like deal with it, idiot. That's like the response the world tells you. And here, you just join a new instance, and you have whole new people that you could track down, or you could join a group, or you could go to an event or what have you, and like, yeah, it's much easier. So, yeah, it also opens people's minds. I think probably most importantly, it's kind of the second order effect of it, right? Like, I'm sure you've heard the thing where, like, you know, people who are more well-traveled typically have more open minds. They understand other people's cultures, ways of lives, the ways that they either have to or choose to live their lives or whatever. You'll never get exposed to those if you just sit and, you know, BFE wherever. You're just going to be stuck in your bubble. So pop your own bubble, go out, see what people are doing. And understand that when you're in their space, you're the alien, you're the weirdo. So, you know, it's nice for that too. It helps people become more well-measured. As long as you handle it right. There's definitely ways to use VRChat or, you know, experience online spaces if you really want to generalize it, where you can, yeah, you know, I'm not saying it's all golden and perfect, but that's what I hope that we can get to people, is the nice part of that.
All right. Has VRChat's values shifted at all from when you were brought on compared to where they are now? And if so, how?
I don't think so. Like, I think the values initially were more, we should have a space where people can hang out, be social, and be expressive creatively. And it's basically the same now at a certain level, right? Like that's still the essential core of things, but there's a couple more things added on. They're mostly from what we've learned. Identity is probably the most important one that shot up pretty quick, right? We didn't know way back when that, for example, if you are someone who isn't sure about their identity and you put on an avatar that doesn't look like you but you feel good in, that can affect your brain. Like, it can affect your experiences. It can speed you up. It can make you realize things that you probably never would have had the capability to realize in real life because it can't happen. I mean, the obvious example here is like trans folks, right? Like, some people that have that those feelings in them would never quite realize, oh, well, this is why I feel this way. It's because I don't feel embodied in the body that I got thrown into, you know, biologically or whatever. But VRChat allows you to, you know, kind of shoot past that and try stuff out. Like, you get to demo a different body. That's crazy. So for those particular cases, it's extremely empowering. It's extremely important. You know, people can discover that about themselves, or discover it and say, actually, you know, I realize that what this means for me, but this is what I want to do about it, or what have you. I'm trying to represent like a massive number of cases I've seen before in like a few short sentences.
Of course.
I'm stumbling over very poorly here, but
I get
those types of situations are like, they're very important. And it's not related just to trans folks, right? Like, it can be anything. It could be, I don't know, you know, your sexuality, your identity of biology, or just like, I like being shorter than I actually am, or I like being taller than I actually am. Like, it could be something like that. You know, I guess the very the very milquetoast version of this is like, I hope someone somewhere was like, damn, I like wearing stilts in real life. I'm just gonna be the stilt guy now, because he just likes being tall.
Yeah.
That's just every Halo Master Chief cosplayer at every convention ever. It's basically just that's their inside of their brain.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I do want to ask, has there been, you know, I mentioned, like, has VRChat's values shifted at all from when you started working there compared to now? But I do,
Oh, yeah.
but I do want to ask about like any internal cultural shifts that have happened within VRChats. The business itself. Have there been any internal cultural shifts
Right.
since when you got hired?
No, I think like we've picked up people from big companies, right? Like we've hired people recently in the past couple of years from like Meta, Spotify, from other. I think we have someone that used to work at Disney or something like that. Yeah, we picked up people like that, and you would think that this signifies a change in values, or like there's a massive shift in direction. Like VRChat's not going to feel the same. So when we hired those folks, I was worried that I would get into like introductions and interviews and stuff with them, and they would tell me this isn't how it is. This isn't how people behave on the internet. You need to force them to act this way. But instead what I got is a bunch of note-taking, listening, nodding, and at the end of it, they were like, okay, I understand. And it was more of an understanding of the knowledge of this is how people value their experience in VRChat. You know, they come in here, they value what I've talked about before, right? Like the capability to explore identity, the capability to make friends with people that you never would have, or discover, like, I don't know, music genres you never would have been able to find in real life, or something like that, right? And they picked up on it really rapidly. So that is a very roundabout way to say, no, I don't think so. There was a chance for us to have shifted values. That's probably the biggest chance that there would have been, but it didn't. And I think that's a good thing. I think the biggest change for us most recently is a simultaneous realizing of like, hey, like we're not invincible, and we do exist in capitalism. So like, let's make sure we're around forever. That's a very short form way of saying like, hey, let's make sure our revenue stream is like constant and reliable and something we can pull in and continue existing. And also at the same time, wait, why are we doing this? Oh, because this is super valuable, right? We don't want VRChat to go away, because if VRChat goes away, a ton of people lose an extremely important space to them. And that would be horrific for a lot of folks. Like, I'm imagining like if I was in the middle of one of those golden ages and all of a sudden the platform just disappeared, which it did once with WildStar, and it was terrible. Like I've lost contact with people I completely forgot about. So I don't want that to happen here.
So would you say that is, like, this is kind of a basic question though, what I'm about to ask, but just for the sake of just an internal clarity of like everything that we've gone over so far, would you say, what would you say is the ultimate goal of, the dev team and those that work under you, and I suppose your goals more specifically? Like what is your ultimate goal and intention? Aside from
what is the final form of VRChat, basically?
Yeah.
I think it is a space where people can express themselves and have their identity designed by them as they see fit, where people can create experiences, art, where they can create games or expressions of self, however they see fit, and be able to share it with their friends easily and in real time. And finally, allow people that do those things, if they want to live off of it, if they want to, make a living off of that, to enable them to do so, all while ensuring the platform can sustain itself and grow. That's been the goal basically from the start. That really hasn't changed. It's those main three things. The identity one is kind of the newer one because we discovered it, right? We were like, oh shit, like this is changing people's lives, kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, some other things kind of on the outside of VRChat. VRChat has a lot of, let's say, colorful content creators, and just to put it lightly, what are your how have these content creators, similar to like YouTubers like Darafog, streaming on Twitch in the variety of ways that people see VRChat portrayed on Twitch, and how has that at all affected VRChat as a whole? And can you kind of go into detail about what these creators, and I guess including myself, I suppose, but in this case more so of like, not myself, YouTubers,
right,
streamers and such. How's that affected VRChat's image, or just VRChat in general?
Yeah. So it depends. I'm sure I don't have to tell you on Twitch there is, as the starter example, lots of people, because Twitch made this interesting cutout and exception for VRChat. I don't think it's a secret to say I'm not quite sure why they did that, but they did. People use VRChat as it's wiggle streams, right? Like it's all 18 plus wiggle streams. Not everybody. A lot of people don't do that. I don't want to cut people out. So that's colored VRChat's image in one way, right? Like if your primary way of consuming like video content is through live streams, then your idea of VRChat is it's just a bunch of scantily clad, like female presenting avatars. Are there any dude wiggle streamers? Are there?
None that aren't already wearing female avatars.
Oh, no,
as far
dude, no.
Wait, maybe
Johnny Bravo.
Oh yeah, I
mean,
mean,
like Johnny Bravo, like
I do know one. Okay, I do know one.
Yeah. Okay.
Bebop Sloan is similar to that.
Bebop, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I remember Bebop from years and years ago. Okay, yeah. So, anyways, that tangent aside, it does affect people's like perception of VRChat, right? Like you don't come in and see that. If you go looking for it, you'll find it. But if you just join a random instance, hell no. Like you're not gonna find a bunch of streamers pointing cameras at themselves wiggling in front of the camera. No, of course not. And if you watch, I'm trying to think of other examples, like James Key's videos. I love James Key's videos. There's all like, VRChat in a nutshell. They're amazing. But it still doesn't represent everything about VRChat. Like going around joking with your friends, finding funny avatars, like laughing your ass off because someone found like an annoying orange or whatever. Like that is something you can do in VRChat, but it is not all of VRChat. It does affect the image. And like you have people that are trolling people in VRChat, creating videos of that, or going up to people, working them up off of camera and then recording the reaction or something along those lines, or finding people who are frustrated or angry. If you can't tell, I have opinions about that. But if all you watch is that, if your feed is full of that, and the beautiful, wonderful TikTok and YouTube algorithms just feed you that over and over and over because it's decided, this is the flavor of chow that you enjoy, so I'm going to keep giving it to you. Then yeah, it can affect your image of these places, right? It would affect anything. Imagine if, I don't know, you for some reason liked watching videos about McDonald's, and you happen to find like this guy that just goes to McDonald's and grabs the stupid ice cream cone out of everybody's hands at the drive-thru. And now you go to McDonald's and the thing you do is that. Like you're just like, well, this is what people do, right? No, like that's ridiculous. I think that's kind of the most annoying way the image has been affected. There is kind of like the 18 plus heavy weighted like thing that Twitch has done a little bit, and I have opinions about that, but I also know that it's the result of policies that were set forth by Twitch and also partially by VRChat, and like it's weird, like no one's happy with the state of things, but it's hard to perturb the environment without causing like things, and it's hard to adjust people's behavior by like going up to them and saying no, don't do that. Like that never works, right? Like you don't want someone doing that, so it's a challenge. In reality, VRChat is, I mean, the jerk-off answer is VRChat's for whatever you want it to be. I think that's a BS answer. VRChat definitely has things it's good at, and it's finding, I think Darafog's videos, like his B-roll that he has, of him just hanging out with friends, that is the best depiction of hanging out in VRChat, that, at least from my perspective, that there is. And I say from my perspective because for other people, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, no, I go around to music clubs and I party and I get drunk, or I go to flight worlds and I fly around and I get really good at flying jets, or, you know, I'm a world creator and I make worlds. I'm barely in VRChat, or I make avatars and that kind of thing. And it really depends on lots of things. So I think they do affect VRChat's image. I'm not sure how to feel about it because sometimes it's for good, sometimes it's for bad. Of course, I would want some things to be different. I don't have as much power as people might think, I guess, in being able to affect that stuff. But I think people should just be cognizant of what they're consuming and how it affects their image of things. This applies to everything, not just VRChat, right? Yeah. I think that's a sufficient answer.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not about to say that I don't contribute to, like, I've always endeavored to contribute to VRChat in a constructive way, but I'm not about to say that I'm also, like, I dance, I do wiggle streams, but, you know, there's like a mixture of that. But I think there's value in having, like, showing different sides of VRChat, and that's kind of what I've tried to do in a creative way. And you know, I do agree that I wish more creators did a little bit more than just that. But obviously, you can't tell someone, well, you know, do something else other than that. You know, everyone has their own way of expressing themselves on the platform, and you know, let them do what they want.
It's a good point. And I was first off, I'll pay you the compliment I was going to, which is I appreciate you breaking out of, you know, what works for you. And I'm not going to say, hey, stop doing what works for you, but experimenting, right? Like, and I think that might be the way to do it. It's like, yes, you found this niche that works really well. But there's 50 of you, there's 100 of you, there's 200 of you. And like this market, the town ain't big enough for all of us kind of deal, right? Like experiment, try stuff out, try running a podcast, try doing interviews, try building a narrative experience, try running a role-playing session, like stuff like that. Maybe that's the advice to give. It's a lot more effort, like, don't get me wrong, I understand, like, I've seen the effort you put in, like, running this so far, when, you know, you probably you would have different metrics if you were running a dance stream right now.
Yeah.
You know, they might be more favorable, but you're doing this anyways, because for 71 episodes, because you're like, I want to make a difference, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. I do think, like, I think because I contribute to the overall image of VRChat in my own way, in terms of, you know, like, you know, following the meta, as it were. I think it's, you know, important that I also show other sides, other ways that the platform can be used. So I'm glad that it's appreciated. So, you know, yeah. So, speaking of that, I am curious about your thoughts on the value that's brought from, let's say, officially supported events such as like Spookality and the most recent VRChat Film Jam and Virtual Market, for example. How do those events actually contribute to the like the betterment or the image, overall value proposition of doing those official events? In VRChat's favor, like why do you do them? Why invest the time and the effort?
Right. So a couple of those are different than the other ones that you named. So Spookality, the Film Jam, those are all part of official events. Virtual Market is run by Hickey, which, you know, we work with them. We've been working with them for years, and they're great. You know, they run their events, but basically we just kind of give them their space and they work with it. So to work through those, the jams like Spookality and to a degree, what other like jams do we typically have? We've got New Year's, which I guess is a jam and in some direction. It gives a chance for people to contribute back to VRChat, right? It gets kind of the creative stuff going. You get your juices going. You can make a poster for New Year's. You can make a video. If you're participating in Spookality, you can make a cool world. You can make a cool avatar. So it's engagement, I think, is really the kind of like corpo short word version of it, is what those events are meant for. But also just, it's not that cold. Like I've had to make those arguments before because people have asked me these questions because it's their job. What value do we get out of Spookality? What value do we get out of New Year's? It's a lot of effort. It costs money. We don't really get like, I don't see big money coming back in from it, right? And they're right, you know, they might not in their current state drive revenue or something along those lines. But running those types of things provide you a lot of second and third order value that you're never going to see in like an immediate data analysis of the event. And this is something that VRChat kind of has to run with in a lot of situations because, you know, our data is qualitative. It's very squishy and soft. It's not Like, I can't look at how much did this gun pack sell on, Battlefield or whatever, to be able to measure value in it. So yeah, for VCAT, I think the value there is just exercising the business development muscle that we have, and building a better relationship with third parties, so that we can run larger events and that kind of stuff in VRChat. People love VCAT too. Like, I mean, if people love it, we want to keep doing it. That's also another important part of like New Year's, right? Like, people love it. They look forward to it. For a lot of people, what you do on New Year's Eve is you log into VRChat and you have a drink or a number, and you hang out with your friends as they hit their respective New Year's times, and people have made great memories that way. And that's, at the end, like, we can attach other things to it, and we can say, here's the value for it. It's engagement, it's retention, blah, 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 whatever. But it's a memory, builds memories. People remember hanging out in VRChat, going through Spookality Worlds or going to New Year's Eve kind of stuff. And that's what we never want to lose. We can always add on more stuff to it, That's why we had like the little candy, the treats and Cath companions this time, because someone was like, oh, I bet we could like tie a store event to this and we could like sell stuff and people actually like it. Turns out, yes, we can, and they do, and they buy it. So, lessons learned all around.
Okay. So I guess that kind of as a small little tangent. So are you saying that there's kind of you're trying to balance the very apparent need to be financially sustainable with the social experiences that come with being involved in VRChat? You're trying to balance the two out to kind of like say, yeah, we need your money, but we also do these things. Kind of, is that really the intention?
Yeah, I use this phrase a lot, but whether we like it or not, we were born into capitalism, so we got a game we got to play. Bezos needs his money, or whoever we're paying for whatever. So yeah, like, I don't want us to lose the things that people enjoy about stuff, but at the same time, yeah, we gotta, like, VRChat does need to make money, like any company. If you release a product and it doesn't sell, it's not a good product. It doesn't work. And it will naturally, because of the way how capitalism is built, like, no one will want it, so the demand goes down, so, like, it doesn't exist anymore. But people love VRChat. People, like, spend a lot of time here. People go to conventions to meet people from VRChat, right? So, obviously, people value it. So we just have to figure out the best way for someone to feel okay spending money on it. Saying, like, yes, I'll give you money for this thing. There's a bunch of different approaches we have for that.
Okay. I do have a follow-up question to that answer.
Okay.
What took so long for VRChat to let people know that they are actually a company that needs to be financially viable? Because it seems like the majority of the time was spent kind of building up on those social experiences and such. But you would think that a company that understands the need for a capitalist mindset would have established those ideas very early on. So why do so now, after kind of, I guess, letting people think, oh, we can just continue to use this platform forever without ever giving any money, ever?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have my personal theories on it. I don't think that any of them are factual. I think it really just comes down to, like, we had great expectations for this idea of a marketplace, of like creators being able to easily sign up and be able to make money, and we can take a cut from it. That became complicated. Like, we have it now, but it's complicated, and it took a while for that to be developed properly and in a way that was secure and beneficial for everybody involved, right? So one of it is it's complicated. The other reasoning there is that, like, and this is like, it's a double-edged sword. I've heard some of our team members say this. It's like, imagine going back and being able to make the decision, actually uploading avatars isn't free, right? Like, you gotta pay something to upload an avatar. That's just an idea, right? Like, I don't think it would mechanically work that way, but just kind of shoehorn that in somewhere, like there's some money involved with avatars or something. And on one hand, that's a good kind of like reasoning to follow, right? It's like, was the misstep us making like uploading content free? But on the other hand, and you'll know this as a player, and so will like everybody watching this, it's like, no, because that's what made VRChat good. right? The fact that everybody had things uploaded, they were able to just creatively iterate without having to worry about stuff. Yes, it costs money. Yes, it, is something that you will burn money by letting someone do for free, and people can abuse it and use it to, harass people or moderate or whatever. But the beauty of it is that at the core, the 95 to 99% of people doing good with it are learning, they're providing more content, they're making stuff, people are enjoying it. So I don't think it took so long because of any one particular factor. I think it was, first off, advantageous that we took a while, because we got to build up a lot of people that are like, I really like this place just kind of as is. It does make it harder because, as you said, now people are used to it being like, I log in and it's just kind of here. It's like the internet, it's free or whatever. I can go to google.com for free, sort of. I gotta pay my ISP, so actually that's a terrible example. But yeah, there's disadvantages. I'm not saying the way we did it is perfect by far, but I think the way that we did it and the delay has helped us in more ways than it's hurt us. Yeah. I think also we just wanted to do it right. VRChat has this interesting habit of like, we never want to release things slowly. Like, we want to drop something, and when we drop it, I was using the analogy of a pyramid earlier. We like, in a different meeting, we don't like putting down a brick at a time. Like, we show up and we drop the whole ass pyramid down all at once. That's what we like to think that we do. And I'm not sure what to think of that habit. It's more of a personal observation of things, so it might not be perfectly accurate. But yeah, now that we have these, product professionals, people who have launched like huge, massively successful stuff before, they're kind of teaching us like, no, actually, this is how you do things, which is why like we've been doing more like feature releases focused on this kind of stuff more often, and in more experimental ways, trying stuff out.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So the creator economy has been out for, I would say, approximately a year or so, if not a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to, like, with regards to like the pursuit of actually like having people to survive and to be able to earn a living from creating things on this platform. Have there been any valuable lessons that have been gained from having this been around for however long, like about a year or so at this point? Like, has anything kind of come to light that needs to be adjusted based on your initial projections?
Yeah, hold on. If I suddenly stick out my tongue, don't worry. It's because of my beard.
It's fine.
I'm not actually like making fun of you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no worries,
Bro. You're super great.
Yeah.
So Fax Machine, who is kind of our main person that is in contact with our world creators and that are in the creator economy program, would know this answer better. But I think from my observational standpoint, there's 2 or 3 lessons that we've learned. One of them is don't be afraid to monetize. I think this is more of a watching people make mistakes and then watching people do the opposite and doing well. People make amazing stuff in VRChat. People make whole ass games. People make huge like experiences or like very deeply detailed like worlds and games or whatever. And then they don't charge enough. People want to give them money. They're like, I want to give you money, but they don't really provide an opportunity to, or they leave off the chance for someone who's like, I'll give you money, but you got to give me a little bit of something in return, kind of thing. I'm trying not to name names. I don't want to do that. I don't want to bust or people are experimenting, which is kind of lesson 2. But it's okay to ask people for money for stuff. And because of the way VRChat operated for a while, a lot of our creators are like, I don't really want to do that, right? Like, please tip me and support me if you like me. And it's like, no, man, sell a skin. Sell like, I don't know, a golden gun or something. Like, just try stuff out. The worst thing that happens is no one buys it. Kind of deal. So that's one of the first lessons, is like, charge for what you work on. It's worth it. You are worth money. You are worth that kind of investment if someone really enjoys what you make. The second one, as mentioned before, is experimentation. there's a lot of people who kind of, they took the lessons that they learned from running Patreons for their worlds and for their content. And I'm talking mostly about worlds. There are avatars here as well, but we're still kind of learning about the avatar marketplace. The people that have been using creator economy have kind of built in this idea of like, you subscribe to get the benefits over time kind of thing, as you do with Patreon. And this is partially on us because we didn't release different ways of paying for stuff until later, because we were trying to like follow on the Patreon model that everybody was using. There's different ways you can experiment, right? Like one-time purchase to unlock X or Y or Z that wasn't available till later. That's really effective in some cases. Or I think my favorite case is the experiment that Spooky Ghost Boo ran in the Black Cat, which is like, can I really charge people for a video player? Where the answer is a resounding hell yes. Like obviously that only works for the Black Cat because it's very popular and people are already there already. But imagine like people want to be the guy who's like, yeah, I got you. I can turn the video player on. So yeah, experiment, try wild ideas. The worst that can happen is you fail a little bit, whatever. I think those are the... No, there is one more lesson. Change it up. Just put something out, leave it alone, and expect it to work forever. There's a simple fishing world has taught a lot of lessons, in particular that seasonal content, shifting stuff up can make a huge difference. Especially if you've got people that are really excited about it. It's kind of like you're releasing DLC or an update, except instead of for a game, it's for a world. Like, oh, you can unlock a new fishing rod. Like, that's huge. People love that, especially because they spend hundreds of hours in Simple Fishing World, chatting with their friends. So you build up kind of this excitement about updates, seasonal updates. Again, all this advice is situational. Simple Fishing World also did a bunch of other things, right, to get to this place. But yeah, we actually have some blog posts, I think, on the way that detail our studies of these different instances of like how worlds have been successful. And you'll be able to read a much more like detailed, data supported stuff on there where we're trying to tell people here, if you want a successful world, you should do this. But yeah, that's the preview of the blog, I guess.
Okay, thank you. So, to what degree would you say that the creator economy program has been successful? Is VRChat actually making, I guess, actual like value from it? Yeah, in its current form, is it actually like earning from that as it is now, or is it still kind of like wavering? Is it like producing actual results? Is what I'm asking. Like that's tangible. Right.
Well, I can't share like exact numbers. Number one, because I don't know them, and number two, because I can't.
Right.
But I can say that like all of our different methods for creator economy, whether it be the world creator economy or avatar marketplace, and then of course our first party stuff like to the marketplace, they're all enjoying some manner of success. We want things to be more successful, which is why we're doing things like releasing those blogs I mentioned, or adding more features or adding more items. But they're definitely producing results. I mean, we've had creators that are able to pay rent because of the work that they do, like that kind of thing. When we heard that, like that was a kind of a holy shit moment, right? Like someone earned money through VRChat that then they used to pay for housing. So that's a pretty good measure of success. Of course, I want that to happen to more people, which is why we're still iterating and putting out information and adding more features and new stuff. But yeah, I think that's a decent indicator.
Okay. All right. So many of us who are event organizers and creatives on the platform, we are very well versed in like VRChat decisions. Like we are the ones who are paying attention to updates, to tweets and all things related to VRChat and that nature. So with being aware of that, I'm curious as to the morale of you and the dev team, knowing that many of the decisions that have been made by VRChat's I wouldn't say it's by your team, but I guess by the executives or the CEO or the person who makes the final call on things, whoever that is, in the hierarchy of the company. So many of these collective decisions have driven away a lot of people who have made long-term investments in VRChat. So I'm curious as to how does your team feel about that? Or maybe I guess you can't speak for your team, but in regards to you personally, how do you feel about people who were once very passionate about developing worlds and avatars of VRChat are now discouraged and feeling like they've been led astray or cheated in some way?
Right. I would be interested in, like, in a vacuum, I think I'm interested in how people kind of arrived at that, their journey to get there. I mean, I feel like the obvious example that we can use here is like EAC, right? Which was not like a single lever pull, was not a single person making a decision. It was not that kind of thing. It was a collective choice. There is no like evil guy behind a curtain that's like, yes, no, maybe. Like, that's not how it works. And there's also not like a secret investor board that says like, hey, VRChat, big booming voice down from the heavens, you should do this thing. Our investors are great, like the people who have invested in VRChat, like Anthos makers, all them, they're awesome. They let us do our own thing. They trust us a lot. So shout out to them if they're listening. But in the end, I understand that like some decisions that we're going to make, and we're going to make more, we have made some and we will make more, that someone will be like, I don't like this so much that I'm going to leave. And I think that is a cost of doing business in some cases, right? Like, if the choice is we piss some people off enough that, they leave, I'd rather not do that. But if the opposite version of that is we don't piss them off, but like we die, sorry, like we're taking this one. Not every decision is that extreme. Not every decision is that hyperbolic. Not all of them is like, black or white or, that kind of thing. It's always some version of gray in the middle. And we're going to make decisions that people don't like. We're going to make decisions that I don't like. It's happened before. It will continue to happen. But I believe in the greater benefit that VRChat offers, as I've mentioned like multiple times. This place does too much good to get hung up on things here or there. I enjoy it too much to get hung up on things here or there. I hang out with friends. I get it. We're gonna have to make decisions like that. I hope we don't have to make as many as I hope we have to make as few as possible, I guess. But they'll probably happen. Probably be more. I hope people don't hate us entirely for it, but trust me, we're thinking about you when we make them. They're not made in a vacuum.
So, okay. Got you. So, I know that you said that the interest of VRChat is to very much make sure that creators can continue to have these experiences and meet these people and even make a living off of it. So I'm curious. I've heard, like, obviously VRChat still continues to grow. I would say that VRChat is still growing to this day. I'm curious as to your personal opinion as to the overall health of VRChat. Whereas I've heard people saying that VRChat is going downhill or losing steam, if no pun intended. Like what are your thoughts about those kind of opinions about VRChat that are probably arising from many creators leaving the platform for various reasons, decisions that were made, like we just talked about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thankfully, especially because I'm a bit of a data nerd, at least in my past life, it's factually untrue. Like, VRChat is growing. We're not hockey sticking, as the term typically goes. Like, we're not shooting into the stratosphere. Year over year, we grow. Every single year. It's very stable. We gain more and more people playing. We gain more and more people that stick around. Like, you can look at the CCU numbers. The CCU isn't great for measuring this kind of thing, but it's the one that's public and accessible. So I think it's like metrics.vrchat.community or something like that, one of those sites that actually adds together all of the different numbers like Steam and Meta and ends up splitting them out. That's quite accurate. It's not precise, but it's pretty close. And if you stretch that back over the years, you can see how it just jumps every year, just a little bit more. I would say also that a lot of it probably is because people experienced a certain type of VRChat that doesn't quite exist anymore, right? Like we mentioned this with like the Golden Ages thing, right? Where people probably expected the answer to be like, 2018 or whatever. Sometimes portions of VRChat stop being real, right? Like Void Club is gone. People don't go to Void Club anymore. There's not really, people don't go to the court anymore to have funny role-playing kind of experiences there. So if that's what you joined VRChat to do and you really enjoyed that, and it doesn't happen anymore, yeah, VRChat might feel like it's dying, but trust me, people are all over the place doing other cool stuff all the time because number go up, right? And I've experienced this too. Like I used to hang out in a couple of like different venues, locations, clubs, whatever, that have eventually kind of quieted down and don't run stuff anymore. It's okay. The people that stuck around are still here. They're just at different things. And I just go find something else to do. So I think my answer there is like, it's factually incorrect. I think that's mostly, the VRChat is dying is mostly born of the internet's habit of saying, I don't like this anymore, therefore it's dying. Like, for example, I would say that about Battlefield 6, because I don't get to fly the helicopter every time I spawn into it. Battlefield 6 is dying. And I can just proclaim that on the internet with my opinion, because those are free. And, yeah. So, I think the rational point of view here is, no. It's based on personal observation, the actual data we have, and of course, you know, the internet's habits of being hyperbolic about this type of stuff.
All right. Can you break down the procedures used to justify prioritization of certain features, generally in general, and why others aren't prioritized?
Yeah. So this would be a great question for a product manager rather than a community manager type person. Very much not my purview, but I'll try and channel one of them. So each year, we have kind of a steer for the company, and that gets broken into halves. And each half we have a, like, here's what we should be doing at VRChat. Here's whatever we're working on, whatever you're making and designing for your particular area, this is what you should be working on and how you should prioritize things. The people that are running these prioritizations, these product managers, project managers in smaller cases, they are really good at reading those types of like values and the things we want to work on and translating it into the list of things that people have suggested that we always wanted to get to, canny posts, random shit we see on Discord or wherever, and then everything gets kind of sorted. And it gets sorted based on a couple of different things. First off, like relevance, essentially. Like, how relevant is it to the mission that we've been given? If our mission is, and I'm just giving an example, it's not one of them, make more money, right? Then that's good. You can sort that list in some way of like, which of these are going to make us money? Or if the list is, our UI sucks, make it better, you can sort that list in UI suckifying, I guess. So you do that. Then you size each one of the projects, because even though something might have a huge amount of impact to that, it might be really hard to do, right? Like, this might affect this particular goal really, really well, but it's the biggest thing we would have ever done in VRChat, and it would take the entire company to realign on it, right? So that one has to get deprioritized because everybody's doing a bunch of other things until you can convince the whole team, hey, we should work on this. And then the third metric, I already actually mentioned it, is impact. It's how big that particular like item will affect the goal. So it's target for what you're shooting at, impact for how much damage you're doing, and then sizing for like how much effort it takes to shoot at it. And then you organize everything in there. Once you have it all sorted by all three of those things, you take the top couple ones and you go through them and you say, okay, we can do these. And then you measure out how much time you have, and then you chop it off the list at some point. It's a very like rough approximation of things. Obviously, like, wrenches get thrown in gears all the time. Some things get prioritized above other things because they're important for other teams. But yeah, that's very vaguely how you would prioritize projects for something like, I don't know, economy or growth or something.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me from a business perspective. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, creatives with ideas for how to improve VRChat have there have been some creatives who have offered to collaborate with devs, and they have largely been turned down in most cases. Can you explain the reasoning for the resistance for wanting to work with particular creatives on particular projects to improve VRChat?
You'll probably have to specify here. Like when you say creatives, I think of like artists and world creators and avatar creators. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking about though, because we don't really get offers for people to do that.
Oh,
what are you asking?
Okay, well, I can specify. So like there are people who have created ideas, both like I say assets that could be used in VRChat, different features that could be used in VRChat. You know. Oh, we'll just say, like, perhaps even, like, ideas for, building a marketplace idea. Perhaps that could be an example also. So, there have been instances similar to that have really kind of been rejected, I suppose. So, can you give a little bit of, insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of those cases, like, I think I know what you're asking about in particular. I mean, there's been like third-party marketplaces that have come to us, I imagine, with like different things. I'm not really privy to those conversations or why not certain deals did or didn't happen. I mean, that's business development, right? Like those is closed door stuff.
Gotcha.
I can imagine that like when you're making those types of decisions, you usually have a couple things in mind. Primarily, like, does this fit within our creative vision? Does it fit within what we want to do? And is it even something we're capable of is another really important thing. And there's a lot of times when people like propose solutions like this, the answer is just do X, and just is a bad word when it comes to development because it's never just do anything. There's always way more complicated. There are things that you don't have to do when you're operating at different scales that you do have to do when you operate at larger scales. And if you don't do them, people in black suits and vans come and knock on your door. That's, again, hyperbolic, but like there's certain steps that have to be followed. And I'm not saying people who propose those ideas didn't think that through. They might have. I have no idea. But I'm just saying I imagine that like that's what people are thinking about when they're worrying about like would we integrate this? Would we have to buy it? Like, are we going to spend the money on this? Wouldn't we rather develop it ourselves? Wouldn't we rather align this with the people that are bouncing off of VRChat rather than the people who have been here for a while and like they're not going to leave? Which sounds a little aggro, but hopefully you understand what I mean, right? Like, if your example of a marketplace, if we don't do a marketplace, like there's already a working model for people building avatars that have been in VRChat for 5-10 years or whatever. What there isn't a model for is for the people who are like, how do I get my own custom avatar? I have to download Unity? I don't even have a computer. Like that kind of conversation, which is one that happens quite a lot. So it's complicated. And again, I'm making up most of the answer because I don't know. It's mostly a guess.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate you giving your best estimation of what you believe could be the cause of that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. What are your thoughts on VRChat dating apps?
Oh, I think they're cool. That's really just the straightforward answer. Like, I mean, back when I was in the dating scene, I would use like Tinder or whatever not Tinder, it was OkCupid or whatever. And that was a horrific experience to be boiled down to basically like a profile. But I think VR offers such an interesting experience for like if I was still dating, like this would be so easy, dude. It so like you're safe. You can just like hop in and introduce yourself to somebody and like get to know them. It's it's incredible. And plus you get the, I mean, you've seen the experience, or you've, I'm sure, experienced the situation where like you've hung out with someone in VRChat for like a long time and you finally meet them in real life. And instead of the like hour or 2 hours it takes for you to get used to how they move and how they act or their mannerisms, it's like 3 minutes and you're good. You're just like, oh shit, I know this guy. Yeah, what's up, man? Like it's so much faster. And if you apply that kind of thing to like a dating scene, imagine you go through an app, you find someone and you're dating online for a little bit. It's not super serious, whatever. But then you do meet up. Like that's a huge like change in kind of the dynamics of it, right? Like now you get to know this person a lot more easily with a lot less trouble. So I think they're cool. I mean, just like any other application like that, there's going to be dangers for abuse or what have you. The people I've talked to that are working on these applications have like designed them mindfully for safety and that kind of thing in mind. So they're running their business. They seem to be doing well. I don't know enough to criticize them, so they seem to be doing okay. I think they're great. I think it's cool.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. My next question for you is, according to one of your recent tweets, data show that many users, new or otherwise, were not utilizing VRChat's free legacy avatars to the point of completely deciding to discontinue them. But they were actually saved by I'll just say their name, Doing. I don't know how to pronounce their name, but Doing created a legacy world that I guess what's the word? Keeps
it has
them.
The pedestals for them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, with that being the case, with people not utilizing the legacy avatars in VRChat, with regards to the very recent arrival of the avatar marketplace, can you explain any decisions that would ensure that a paid avatar wouldn't suffer a similar fate to users not utilizing that in the similar way of not utilizing the legacy avatar? So what was the justification for going with a paid solution when the free ones were not getting much attention?
Yeah, so we still have free avatars listed in the menu, just to be clear. The legacy avatars are old SDK2 avatars that were released with the Quest 1 release. And we released them originally as like, hey, we need some low poly avatars that work for Quest. And that's what we had. So we still have like featured avatars, I think is what they're called, and they are free. They're accessible in the menu. The reason that we dropped those off in particular is, I think, 2 or 3-fold. The first reason is that they're not iOS compatible. They don't have specific iOS versions launching, and we were about to launch iOS, which is launched now. The second one is that they're SDK2. They're old. You can't customize them. Like, they're cute, but like no one wants to use them because you can't customize them. And then number 3 was just like, it was an extra UI element getting in the way. We had to like put it somewhere, and we were running out of spots to put it, and like the idea of something saying legacy across your menu doesn't inspire confidence. Like legacy is like, this shit sucks. That's what that says to like a new user, right? Like they don't want to use something that says legacy. But we knew that people loved them, and we knew that people wouldn't want to lose them. So even before we ever made the decision, like, hey, we're doing this now, the community team, Straws in particular as well, we went and we grabbed all of those IDs, we put them into a list, we were like, we're going to have these ready to share out to people, and they can make their own world and put them on pedestals, and that's fine. So we did that. So yeah, it's mostly, I mean, it was almost entirely a UI decision, to be honest. Like it's not a super great experience to wear those on like on iOS because of the incompatibility. Like it works, but it kind of looks janky. And they're SDK2, which like that's as deprecated. We're not going to give people like deprecated SDK avatars as a default option. That seems weird.
So basically, I suppose the fact that they were old and outdated is the justification for starting an avatar marketplace. So I guess, did you learn anything? No, well, no, more or less. No, not so much that.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, the reason we wanted to start an avatar marketplace is because we've always wanted to do that. It falls into the original mission of like creators should be able to earn from VRChat. And we know lots of people like Booth and Gumroad and Jinxie have been like building their own stuff for markets or for avatar marketplaces, but those are like admittedly pretty complicated. You've got to, again, have a computer, have a the wherewithal to install Unity and Blender and snap all this together, and for all the work that BD with Modular Avatar and Syncy with VRC Fury has done to make it a lot easier, it still sucks. Like, I'd take no other way of doing it. I love building my own avatars. Like, I built this one out of pieces from Lorien and a couple of the people that also make add-ons for Runa. I enjoy optimizing it down. Like, I enjoy that entire process. I only wear good avatars. That's also very important to illustrate. That's a whole nother thing. I will not wear anything worse than good. I enjoy doing that, but like, I'm 4 hours into VRChat. I say, hey, I want like an avatar I can kind of call my own, so I can like have an identity with it. Download Unity, see you in a week. That sucks. That's a bad answer. That sucks. So that was the intent for oh, I'm cutting out again. It'll stop in a moment. That was the intent for making Avatar Marketplace, is to make that not suck just a little bit less. It'll get better over time too.
Okay. What are your thoughts on alternatives to VRChat, such as Resonite or the development of Basis? Though Basis isn't really a foundation; it's more of a framework, more so than a platform. Right. So, what are your thoughts on those sorts of solutions? Alternatives, we'll say.
Yeah, Resonite's the easy answer. Resonite is great. Resonite is I hope Frooks doesn't hate me too much for saying it this way. It's the Unity editor, but in VR. It's not Unity. I know you had the splitting. I know it's different. It's just the render or whatever. But it's collaborative editing of a scene, and it's great. However, like, it's not one-to-one with VRChat. Like, people who say, oh, it's the same thing, like, have no idea what they're talking about, right? Like, Resonite, you can try and fit 80 people in a room, but someone's computer is going to melt because it's all peer-to-peer. Or like, you can't load like as many avatars. I think the performance is a little bit rougher. It has gotten better. I did see that they had an update that got better. And also the UI is just not built for, I'm hopping in and getting wasted with my friends, or I'm hopping in to fly a jet with my buddy, or I'm gonna go, watch YouTube videos with my friend. The UI is just not built for that. That being said, I am super glad Resonite exists. I do remember the first time I logged in there, I clicked on it and it said anonymous login. I was like, oh cool, I can log in anonymously. Apparently that button was a lie, because I logged in via Steam and I like joined an instance or a world, and someone ran up to me and said, what are you doing here? And I was like, what? It's supposed to say anonymous. And they're like, no, I know it's you, Tupper. I was like, shit. So Resonite's great. Love Frooksius. I think Frooks' Sightline was the first VR experience I ever tried on my home VR headset. So, that's I've been observant of them for a while. Basis is interesting. I get where Dooley's coming from when they say that it's not a VRChat competitor, but I do think that's bearing the lead a little bit. It is pretty much enabling the capability for anyone to just drop in a project and build that from very little effort. Which I appreciate the effort. I do think as time goes on, and I think about it a little bit more, it's more and more difficult to say, oh, well, it's not a competitor. But, like, literally you put a coat of paint on it and now it is. They've been doing a lot of really cool work, though. Some of the scaling work that they've been doing is really interesting. I've gotten a lot of clients running in the same instance, I don't know what what they call that abstraction. I think there's a lot of work left to be done. We've seen this happen a couple of times where VRChat, like someone builds, like, I'm going to build VRChat with blackjack and hookers to use the kind of, meme version of it. But people often figure out that we're not just a bunch of Unity assets slapped together. That was true about 12 years ago. It is not even remotely the same now. But yeah.
Okay. So, when someone says they're making something in chill VR, is that something that the community dev team are just kind of looking away from?
Do you mean in context when people post like not safe for work images and they say, "Oh, we made this in chill out, not in VRChat," kind of thing?
I mean, yeah, more or less. I kind of have to know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's I can safely say not my department kind of thing.
Okay.
But like, at some point, like, I don't know. This is let's go completely in a personal viewpoint. My job hat is off firmly right now.
Okay.
I don't really personally care what people do on the internet with other consenting adults. Like, I don't. Like, if you're with another, like, in a private space and you're doing that, if you're in a Discord DM, if you're in a VRChat private instance, whatever, I personally, as a person, am like, yeah, dude, do what you want. I don't really care. The problem is when you start, like, poking the bear a little bit with, like, publishing things publicly. It's like, man, you put an entity that's in control here in a really difficult position. Again, this is just me observing, is like, if I was playing VRChat and that was it, I didn't even work here, I'd be like, man, you put them in a really weird position if their rules say this and you're doing this. So I don't know. Thankfully, it's not my job to do, like, to deal with that. How do I feel about that? I don't know, man. Like, I don't think there's a good answer. I'd love for, like, there to be a space for, I think Sam Altman put out a blog post about OpenAI, about ChatGPT recently, where they were, like, responding to some stuff, and he used the phrase "let adults be adults," which I think is incredible. Yes, absolutely. That being said, we also exist on an internet where, like, there are minors that run around basically unsupervised because a parent has chucked a headset at their head, said, here you go, I can't, I'm not sending you to daycare, have this instead. So it's so weird. It's such a pain in the butt. You basically have this one giant park where everything is sitting and everyone goes to. There's no separate section to go off to, or there wasn't until we put age verification in. Now there is a way to get out of the park and go to, like, a separate place. And the rules have to apply to everyone at the park at the same time. But at the same time, if you, like, it gets overly restrictive and, like, almost draconian or whatever if you apply them too hard. But then people need to be safe, if they don't know any better, or if they're minors, that they can't consent to certain things. Like, it's I think it would be stupid for anyone to say that they're not aware of these types of problems, which kind of stem from, like, I realize I'm going way off course here, but it is indicative of kind of this wider range of, like, people need to understand what space they're posting in and how they're perceived and what other people can observe it. And it's a challenge from top to bottom. So, yeah. Anyways, personal opinion hat is, I took the hat off. I can put the job hat back on. There we go. Mm-hmm. The job hat is like, yeah, I think it's against the rules. You shouldn't do that.
yeah, that's fair. That's kind of the answer I was expecting.
Yeah. No, I'll answer the hard questions. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Like, if we can't have an honest conversation, then there's not really a point to your podcast here, right?
True. Yeah. Like, I think that's really, really important. So thank you for being willing to answer those kinds of questions. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So I am wondering about. I had a question on hand, but I'll just go ahead and go with this. iOS, the iOS was just developed, was released recently. I know you're very much the head of community, but you're also one who presents these ideas to people on stream and such, and you kind of let people know what's going on and all things of that nature. So, are you familiar at all with what was necessary to make that happen? What were the technical? Obviously, from a technical perspective, do you know what was necessary to make iOS viable?
Yeah. So one of the problems that VRChat always deals with anytime we expand to a new Unity version or to a different platform is we have to deal with shaders. Shaders, in very short form, are small little programs that tell your graphics card how to draw the thing that you just handed it. And they're not compatible between different platforms. Windows PCs talk a different language than, like, a Mac. Xbox talks a different language than a PlayStation, and a Quest talks a different language, or a Android phone. Thankfully, they talk the same language, but iPhone talks an entirely different language here, so you have to do it separately. But through some very helpful collaboration with Unity, some very clever engineering, both on Unity's part and our internal engineers, we were able to get iOS to mostly behave and deal with content from, I think, other platforms that would allow it to work. So that was the biggest thing. Once we got past that, a lot of it was just kind of following Tim Apple's rules. You know, you got to do what they tell you to. They have certain requirements for things to work. Let's see. Yeah, aside from that, that was the main thing. And also making like VRChat work on mobile just in general is a pretty huge undertaking. That team is relatively small, but they have done a huge amount of work for both Android and for iOS. They've done crazy work. Crazy work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I do want to also ask about. I feel like I did not. Well, let me just put it this way: isn't there a group in VRChat that is that the creator economy group, or like a committee of some sort that was established relatively recently? A certain committee that kind of helps with making decisions. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I didn't fully research this, but I did want to ask about that. Does that make sense? Does that ring any bells?
Is this a group that consists of like players, or is it like people that work at VRChat?
Players. A player.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of something that exactly matches up with that. Like, I don't think we have any. Like, we have a bunch of different volunteer community groups that like people help out VRChat with. That's not a good sentence, but you understand. We have a bunch of different collections of people that help out with stuff. For example, we have like the wiki team. Who maintain the VRChat wiki. They do an incredible job, way more than we ever could, because we don't have time. But they donate their time and their expertise to do that. We have a community QA team that's like helping us out with ensuring that our QA covers everything, and they get kind of a first run at bugs on stuff. We have internal testing. We have testing teams. We also have a group leaders kind of group, which might be what you're talking about. That doesn't have anything to do with creator economy. That one is like a collection of people who run larger groups at VRChat, who run consistent events, who like do that kind of stuff, and it's a way for us to communicate and talk with them. There's a couple of other groups here and there, but those are kind of the ones I can think of at the moment, not necessarily the biggest or whatever.
Okay. I think there are many just misconceptions about VRChat as like either a game or however people view VRChat. What are your thoughts on how you believe people should view VRChat as a platform? And I know you've mentioned kind of much of this in passing earlier in the podcast, but I guess based on how people can oftentimes perceive VRChat, like what are your thoughts of how people? How do you believe that people should perceive the platform to be as like, is it a game or is it something else?
Right. I don't think it's a game. Like, the definition of a game is very straightforward, right? Like, there's objectives. You win something. There's some win condition. Like, that's not even in the loosest sense. In the loosest games you can think of, there's still win conditions of some kind. There's something to do. There's an objective. There's a score to increase. There's some place to go or do. That is the intent of it. And even in like the line starts to get fuzzy when you talk about sandboxes. So if you proceed along the lines from like, Tetris is a game, very clearly a game. Grand Theft Auto, it kind of is a game. It has lots of game stuff. It's like, I'd say a solid 90% game, but there's also lots of other stuff you could do with it. And then you get to like Gary's Mod. Is Gary's Mod a game? I'm not sure. It can be a game. But yeah. And VRChat slams all the way to the other side of that, right? Like, VRChat contains games, but I don't think it is a game. It's made in a game engine, but so is a lot of stuff that isn't a game. Like, I think some people have said that to me. It's like, oh, VRChat's a game because it's in Unity. There's a lot of shit in Unity that's not games. There's a huge amount of stuff that's in Unity that isn't a game. Same thing for Unreal. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I think people should view it as a platform first and foremost. It is a social platform. It is that happens to use a game engine. It's just the best way for us to be in avatars and animate them and do all that kind of stuff. It's the easiest way to do that is to use Unity for it. So Yeah, I think the answer there is very straightforward. It's VRChat is not a game. It can contain games. It isn't itself one. It is useful shorthand though. Like, I will still find myself like typing up like, and using like game as like VRChat's pronoun is not game, but I still still use it accidentally sometimes. I think is one way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to slip up on that and just kind of just say it like arbitrarily because it's just easier to kind of say in that regard. So, how do you deal with bearing the weight of criticisms from the community pretty much almost every day of the week?
Yeah. This is, I don't know. People have, sorry, there's a bunch of thoughts hitting all at once because, like, we talked about this a little bit before we started. People have opinions. Everyone has an opinion. It costs nothing to generate an opinion. Like, I tell myself this all the time about my own opinions, and I hate to tell you, and I hate to tell anybody watching. Opinions aren't worth shit. Everyone has an opinion. It costs nothing to generate an opinion. It has zero value. So that understanding has helped me kind of come to terms with, like, when someone has an opinion about me, they just said stuff, man. And the hardest part to work out about that is that a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, they're just words, just get over it. But words have a lot of power. I still remember things that people in 5th grade told me, or like the one thing that an adult I trusted like told me when I was a teenager as a mentor, and I was like, oh my god, like everything's like crumbled down or whatever. Like, my image of someone changed because of words. So it's really tough because you have to do multiple things at once. First off, realize that people are coming from a place where they're generating these opinions, which have zero value, out of a place of anger or frustration or whatever. Second off, you have to somehow say that at the same time while realizing that, like, they're banking on the fact that words have an impact on you. And even if people say that words don't impact them, they do. And then third, I think the most important thing is that most of the time when people say stuff like that, it does come from a place of that there is some kind of goodwill buried somewhere in there. There is some marker where if you go too far, I don't give a shit anymore, like what you actually felt like about. Like, I don't care what good reason you had about it. Like, the method that you've used to communicate your frustration about this has completely wiped out me ever caring your opinion about this. Most of the time, like, opinions I do actually read. Like, of course they mean nothing, but they're still the viewpoint of somebody. So I'll sit there and I'll read it or I'll observe it and I'll see why they're angry. Yeah. Your question, though, is how I deal with it. Yeah. The text on the side, I think, of my avatar on one of these sides says community tank drone. When I played MMOs, I always played tanks. And I could go on a long diatribe about why I enjoyed playing tanks. I didn't always play tanks, but I played them more recently, last 10 years or so. You should go watch Pint's video on tanks recently, and she uses it as an allegory for becoming trans, which I think is a great way of telling that story. It's awesome. But up till that point, there's a lot of story in there and a lot of kind of the way that she delivered it that rings true with me. It's like, I can take it. I can take it so other people don't have to. And there's a lot of rationalization, but yeah. As far as how, I still don't have a good answer for that. It does impact me. It does affect me. I've just gotten good at mitigating over time. There have definitely been things I've seen or heard people say or read what they say, and it's just like, I think about it for a while, and it does have an impact on me for a while, but yeah. It's not a zero stress job. Community management is not for the faint of heart, especially when you're in a place where people care so much about, like, the platform that they will go to extremes to tell you why they aren't happy. Very, very far extremes.
Is it? Yeah, go ahead.
Also, oh no, I just remembered that also stops counting when it passes that line, because when it passes that line, it's called harassment, and some people just jump straight to that. That one's also really rough. Even then, like, even the people that are like, it's rough to even say this out loud because I don't want to believe it myself, but even the people who are harassing probably have a reason to do it, but it might not have anything to do with you. So, yeah. Random scary phone calls or you know, people trying to dox you or whatever. Yeah. I'm glad it happens to me and not to other team members. I can deal with it. I don't want them to deal with it.
Gotcha. I mean, that is rough, but I mean, you're right. When you're in a position as important as yours, or I guess, do you find your position important, or like, because like you are in many ways the face of VRChat, in many respects. So how do you process that?
Important's a weird word. I'm just this guy, man. I don't think I am. My job is important for sure. So the position absolutely is important. I am the projection. I mentioned this earlier. I am the way that people's opinions who are watching, who post on our boards, who tell us things. I am one of the ways, one of the big pipes that gets all the way to people who can make decisions. Not all information needs to go that far. So I can also drop that off at other places to, you know, specific product manager, specific engineer, or whatever. But I think the position is important because of that. The way that the head of community position is laid out enables a huge amount of transport of feedback. As far as what's done with that feedback, you know, that's beyond me. I can deliver it. I can take stuff back that much. So yes, it's really important. I don't want to nor need to feel important, thankfully. I'm pretty boring. So yeah, this is my job is the coolest thing about me.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to say with regards to just VRChat being head of community? Is there anything that you specifically would just want to say to the community, just in general about VRChat that perhaps people don't really understand or haven't put into perspective as of recently?
I think it's still basically the same thing I've had in my bio for a while. Like, no matter what you do, you need to be kind to people. And I'm using the word kind very specifically. Not using nice. Nice is bullshit. Nice is what you get when you go to This will make sense to people that lived in the Southeast United States. Like, if you live in the South, people are nice. They're all sweetie to you. But actually, secretly, they want to kill you. They hate you. Kind is what happens when you go to, this is so American-centric, I'm sorry. Kind is what happens when you go to New York City and you ask how to get, how do I get to Central Park from here, to a New Yorker, and they just start calling you names while, like, pulling you onto the train and goes with you to lead you all the way there. That's kind. You can be an asshole while you're being kind, but you're not being a menace, you're not being mean, you're not being unkind. So, yeah, I think my advice is just generally that. Like, be open-minded, be kind. Assume the best of people, but if people show you who they are, then believe them. And also, I think most importantly, we talked again. I guess we talked a little bit about this before we even started. Don't believe everything you read or see, especially lately. I sure hope I can go back and watch this in like 4 years and be like, damn, that was a bad time. Sure glad that's over. Everything is in some way a lie. There is nothing around anymore that's 100% truth. And that's really tough to work with. And with the advent of like easily generatable like AI videos and images, or editing that you can make things look like whatever you want to, or being able to just post words in a TikTok comment and then like 200,000 people see it and assume it's true. And they do. Like, yeah, it's crazy right now. you can just it's that Arthur thing, Arthur like clip of like, why would someone do that? Just go on the internet and lie? Yeah, that's literally that's everything right now. It's nuts. So I don't know. Trust but verify is maybe my other advice, but that's even harder to do now. I do that with some of my friends. They hate it. It's like, man, I trust you, but I'm gonna go make sure what you're saying isn't wrong. They hate that.
I mean, that's what people should do. Like, I've actually said it very recently to my own community. You know, like, you can't simply believe everything that's being thrown at you, because you have no way of knowing how true or how accurate it is. You should see for yourself and think for yourself. I do have a couple, maybe one or two more questions for you, actually. And I know we're getting short on time, so
Don't worry.
yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
Oh, time flies.
Yeah. That's what happens all the time on these podcasts. So I do want to ask about your perspective with regards to the international community, because I know you said your opinion was very American centric. How are the international players in VRChat being heard and being assisted in a way that makes them feel as though they matter, whether they know English or not? How's that being handled with you and your team?
It's a really good question. It's no secret that the Japanese community in VRChat is massive, like huge. Japan loves VRChat, and we love Japan. You know, we've had some excellent like content creators come out of Japan and really boost up VRChat. Sutanmi and Sutanmi. I'm terrible at pronunciation, but they've done incredible work over the past couple of years, like bringing new people into VRChat. And Japan is also wonderful at grabbing their own like people from their region and bringing them along in basically an onboarding ride. So we've supported Japan by and other places in the world we focused really heavily on localization and got the community to help us out. Shout outs to the localization people. You do incredible work, and we're localized in a lot of different languages now. That's the main way of support, because we found with Japan that if you just basically make the application accessible, then the rest can follow. There's a lot of other countries out there too. Like, we've supported as many as we possibly can. I think that the ones that are really unfortunate is like there are countries that are sanctioned by the countries that we operate from, and we're legally incapable of serving. And sometimes you see people asking, like, they're on VPNs from those sanctioned countries. It's like, why don't you support this? And it's like, because we live in a society, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. Localization did help a lot, though. I think that might be the key answer to your question.
All right, man. And where do you believe VRChat will be in 2 years from now?
2 years. Okay. So you've chosen the really difficult range. 6 months, okay, you're looking for like new features. 10 years, okay, you're looking for like vision. 2 years is like, what's your big project? At VRChat, we've done a lot of research recently, figuring out what gets people to come here and stay. What do people enjoy doing? What gets them into the loop? Because we know that once people are in, like, just like me, like, I'm stuck here. I don't need any onboarding features or whatever. Like, I'm happy with how things are. I can use the features, whatever. I can make my own avatar. But to get people there is the hard part. So I think 2 years from now, VRChat is going to be much better outfitted to handle keeping people engaged that are new, to getting people into the places that keep them engaged, and finding their friends, finding their tribe, I think, is the term or the phrase that a lot of places like this tend to use. I think it's a bit of I get it. This sounds weird. But yeah, like, making it a lot easier to do those things. Because once we have that, like, that slow growth that we still have year over year just starts increasing and increasing. And then we have a chance at another hockey stick. And if we do that at the same time while we've also been building up the marketplace, creator economy, avatar marketplace, and the first party store, then that all scales up. Like, we're doing great. we're earning money, everybody else is earning money, we can all survive, everything's great. Yeah. So I think we'll be in a pretty good place. We'll still be able to do everything that we can do today. I think that's probably the thing that really the community wants to hear is like, am I going to be able to hang out and do the stuff I can do right now 2 years from now? Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be able to do more cool shit.
I mean, here's hoping. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, where can people find you?
Unfortunately, on Twitter or whatever they call the platform now, Tupper is my profile there. I also have a Blue Sky that I sometimes post on. I've been posting more in our subreddit, but I have a love-hate relationship with our subreddit, so I don't know. They're all right. It's okay. Yeah. Also, of course, we stream every Friday for VRChat on our VRChat channel, which is twitch.tv/VRChat. I'm the one running the stream. Like, this is the computer I stream on, and the stream deck right behind me, and the shit I keep tripping on in the room. At this point, that's kind of turned into an exercise stream, because for some reason we do squats with every subscription now. Yeah, other places too, but those are the main places. And on VRChat. If you see me, come say hi. Don't send me a random friend request, that's weird. But if you come and see me, like, or if you find me, like, come and say hi. I'm not gonna fight. I'm just a normal, weird, boring person.
All right. And for those of you who would like to find me, wherever you'd like to go find whatever platforms you prefer using, if you're watching this on YouTube now, you can find me over at twitch.tv/Nepherti with 2 eyes. You can also find me over at Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, at Nepherti with 2 eyes. If you're watching this on Twitch right now, you can find me over at YouTube at Nepherti with 1 eye. And you can also find me over at Sweet Talking Pod, also on Twitter. If you'd like to keep up with more updates of the guests that I'm having on, releases for episodes, that's a good account to follow. It's strictly about the podcast, so I'd really appreciate you giving a look to that. If you want to keep up with what's going on with the actual podcast and not so much with me, but it's there. You can also find me over on TikTok. I recently made one, so to my great chagrin, but you gotta do what you gotta do to grow, I guess. So
yeah, I have that feeling.
Yeah. So you can find me over at TikTok at Nepherti with 1 eye VT. So Nepherti VT basically. And you can also, if you want to support the podcast and what I'm doing, this is a labor of love. Obviously, I'm a full-time content creator / streamer, whatever you want to call me. I do content, I do specific exclusive content over at patreon.com/Nepherti. I'd really appreciate your support there. You can subscribe there for starting at just $3. It's really not a whole lot, but and every little bit helps. Don't think that $3 is not going to do very much. If everyone did $3, I'd be doing pretty well, but it is
scale, baby.
Yeah, basically, like things stack up. But if you do want to support the project, again, I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. If you want to keep up with me and get exclusive rewards over there on over at Patreon, it's patreon.com/Nepherti, and I'd really appreciate your support. But we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been a really awesome talk. I actually used up the entirety of my time with Tupper because I couldn't help myself. There was just too much to talk about, just too much to say, too much to talk about,
If you want to you said you want to do like post podcast. I could do like 10 minutes, 10
minutes? Okay. Okay, cool.
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, as long as we have like time to take care of like snap photos at the end. Would that be cool?
Of course, yeah. Let's say I've got 12 minutes to go, and then I gotta disappear. I gotta turn into a pumpkin.
Okay. All right. So, all right. We'll kind of make that very, very quick then. So, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 71 of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, Nepherti, and my guest Tupper, the head of community of VRChat. I hope you guys learned something new, or perhaps got insight on something that perhaps you weren't aware of. I tried to ask as many questions as I could, both soft and hard hardballs, in my opinion. So I do hope that this was insightful and hopefully a very helpful viewpoint on, I guess, a little bit of insight with regards to VRChat and everything that goes into, being someone in a very significant position in the community, someone who's essentially the face of VRChat also. So I hope it was helpful and informative. And if it was, please leave a like. Please, leave a comment. I'd really appreciate that. That really does help me in the algorithm. And everyone who's tuning in live right now, thank you all so much for tuning in live. Really do appreciate that so much. Thank you so much to Tupper once again for being my guest. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule to sit down with me. Really, really was great talking with you, for real.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Thank you for inviting me. It's been good.
Hell yeah. I am very happy to hear that.
I think you also may be the best researched interviewer I've had. So good job.
Hell yeah.
Some interesting interviews.
Hey, I do my best. I wanted to be ready. Because I knew this is kind of important, and for me, I have a reputation to maintain. So a lot of people don't know what I can do, and hopefully now some people know what I do. So hopefully you guys will tune into the previous episodes over on YouTube and wait for this when it comes out, eventually on YouTube. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast. I've been your host, Nepherti, joined by Tupper, head of community VRChat, and we will see you in the next one. Until next time, I hope I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So this thing is beeping at me again. Hold on, I'm gonna tell it to be quiet. Oh, and there goes my tracking. One moment.
No
Technical
worries.
difficulties. There, I pressed the mute button. No. Oh, I am a creature right now.
Ooh.
Hold on, one moment. We're recovering. We're recovering. There we go. We're back.
Okay. Nice.
Mostly. There we. Okay. All right. You can tell me if I'm in your camera or not once we move back. I think I'm good.
Yeah, you're all good. You're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.